I'm pleased to introduce you to Travis Bradberry. Travis is co-founder and president of TalentSmart and is the co-author of Emotional Intelligence 2.0. This book, a runaway bestseller, has been translated into 26 languages and is in use in over 150 countries around the world. TalentSmart also developed an assessment to measure emotional intelligence, or EQ, and it's been used by 75% of the Fortune 500 companies. Today we'll be talking to Travis about emotional intelligence, EQ, and how to improve it. Welcome, Travis.
Thanks for having me.
So Travis, how'd you get involved in emotional intelligence and the study of it?
Well, it was a really natural progression for me. My area of study in graduate school was in clinical and industrial psychology. I actually got a dual PhD in both disciplines. And did a lot of my early research in emotional intelligence, and I saw a great connection, a great ability to forge the fields and really help people understand how they are personally in the workplace and what they can do to improve themselves and the organization. So I see it as being a skill set that really translates well to businesses as a whole and the individual leader, him or herself.
Why is it important for a leader to have a high EQ?
I think the first thing you need to understand is you actually need to look at IQ, because IQ is a threshold competence, particularly for people in leadership positions. You have to have a certain amount of intellect to get there, and then you end up having a fairly level playing field where people have a very similar amount of IQ. It's a narrow, it might not feel like a narrow range, but it actually is. Emotional intelligence is the skill that sets people apart. It takes people to the next level. This is a skill set that really impacts how you interact with people, how you manage yourself, how you manage your time, and your ability to find and seek strategic opportunities that your competitors miss.
So tell me a little bit about your research and the assessments that you've done up to now.
My company TalentSmart set out to discover the skills that really determined and achieved leadership success and separate them from the skills that are inconsequential or harmful. Emotional intelligence turns out to be one of the biggest skills that's a predictor of success. So it's a skill that really a leader can bring into his or her repertoire to improve themselves. We, after conducting that research and having those findings, we then set out to create a tool set that any leader in any organization, large or small, can use to improve their emotional intelligence skill. So what we do at TalentSmart is we have a wide range of tools, wide range of tools or wide array of tools, and really what that starts with are simple things like a book or an assessment that anyone can take and begin their approval process, all the way to a lot of the large organizational initiatives that we support that include, in-depth emotional intelligence training, executive coaching, organizational culture change. So the idea is you can improve the individual and you can improve the entire organization depending upon where the company in particular is or the leader in particular is and what they want to learn.
Now, one of the things that we've talked about before is this idea that circulates in psychological circles of, is emotional intelligence a trait or an ability that you can learn and improve? Where do you stand on that?
Yeah, this is interesting because sometimes people will come across this debate, which is largely an academic one. And in academic circles, there's some debate as to whether emotional intelligence is a personality variable that you cannot change or whether it's a unique ability. And there's been a great deal of research that shows that emotional intelligence is a separate intellectual capacity. The idea here is you have your IQ or general intellect, you have your personality, and then you have your emotional intelligence. These are three qualities that do not occur together in any meaningful way. You can have a high IQ and a low EQ. You can be an extrovert with a low EQ. You can be an introvert with a high EQ. It doesn't matter. There isn't a true connection there. So I certainly lean towards the camp that says the emotional intelligence is an ability that you can improve. And there's a great deal of both academic and applied workplace research that supports this.
And for our purposes today, we're going to really talk about this as an ability that you can focus on, improve upon, and frankly, just get better at.
Yeah, and it's something that research studies have shown improvements that last as long as 15 years from people working on these emotional intelligence skills. So given that emotional intelligence is a flexible skill, an adaptive skill that you can change with effort and time and energy, I think that it's an important one for people to consider.
So tell me a little bit more about the assessment. What does it measure, and is it predictive, and if so, what does it predict?
Well, the assessment itself measures all 4 emotional intelligence skills as well as your overall EQ. And we've found that the assessment scores predict 58% of your job performance. The idea here is that your IQ or your experience, things of that nature play a role, but emotional intelligence is actually the biggest piece of the puzzle. That's why assessment scores are so intertwined with job performance. And we've been able to research this by comparing people's emotional intelligence scores to their job performance and regressing the two. It's a statistical technique. Another thing we found with the assessment that's pretty important is just 36% of the people we've tested are able to accurately identify their emotions as they happen. So this is a big need area, as this is something that we don't tend to learn in school. It's something that most people have a lot of opportunity to improve upon.
Wait a minute, so just a little over 1/3 of the people can even identify a particular emotion when they're having it?
Just over 1/3 of the people are adept at identifying their emotions in the moment. Most of us have a great deal of improvement or room for improvement in understanding our emotions as they happen. And that's the kind of skill that improves as you begin to work on your emotional intelligence.
And we're going to have a chance to talk about ways to do that.
Absolutely.
Great.